Welcome everybody to episode number 8 of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly. The Tobs are 6-5 after losing last night's game against the Edenton Steamers in Edenton. But before we get to that game, going back one more night to Saturday when the Tobs exacted some revenge against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, an 8-4 victory where a starter from last year's team, John Valk, was able to pick up the win in his first start of the season. He went 5 innings, allowed 4 runs, but he battled in the last couple of innings, a game where he really didn't have his best stuff through the first couple, but was able to shut down the Swamp Dogs in innings number 4 and 5. Drew Cole had a solo shot for the Tobs, and Adam Pate had a tremendous game. The local boy from Aycock High School went 4 for 5 with 3 runs scored and added 3 stolen bases. He kept up the good work in last night's game against the Edenton Steamers when he reached base 3 times without the benefit of a hit. 2 walks and a hit by pitch. He also stole a couple of bases, giving him 5 stolen bases in the last 2 games. Ben Schmucker and Taylor Nichols also had solo shots in the game for the Tobs, but it was a game that the Tobs lost 9-2. Braden Bristow made his first start of the season but was unable to get out of the first inning. 8 runs came in the bottom of the first inning for the Steamers, but 4 of those runs were unearned. The bullpen, however, was a bright spot for the Tobs as they pitched 7 1/3 innings, allowing 1 run. It was unearned. One of those relievers, Mikel Belcher out of Samford University, will join us later in this edition of Tobs Talk. And also head coach Justin Hay of the Tobs will be with us, and also some representatives from the Lee Motor Group. All that and more when we come back right here on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. Welcome back everybody to this edition of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. I'm Jake Donnelly. With me now is head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. Justin, last night's game did not go the way that the Tobs wanted to, a 9-2 defeat against the Edenton Steamers. But if you take out that first inning, the team actually played pretty well and they didn't give up at all. That's something that this Tobs team has been doing so far this season. When they're down, they battle back.
Yeah, that's something I told the team after the game. Really proud of the way we didn't pack it in after giving up 8 in the first inning. Battled back. I challenged them in the third inning to, just kind of try to control what was in front of us and see what would happen. There was a lot of baseball left. And we did, and, we couldn't get ourselves out of the hole that we created, but we fought hard, and, we very easily could have just packed it in after the first and said, well, we're going to take this one and go home. But we put some pressure on them, and I made them play a little bit harder, and maybe made them use a few bullpen arms they wouldn't have used if we'd have just gave up. So maybe their next couple games their bullpen will be a little stressed or something. Maybe we created something for them by battling hard. I hope so.
And it's always good to make the top team in the division work, which the Edenton Steamers are at the moment with an 8-1 record. Part of that battling back, though, and the ability to come back into games is the fact that this bullpen for the Tobs is really, I'm not sure if I should say outdoing themselves, but they are doing everything you are asking of them and more, especially lefty Daniel Batts.
Daniel's been really good for us, especially coming in situations like last night where we need zeros as a team. I told him on the mound, I was like, we just need to get through some innings and give our offense a chance. We've got a good offense. They can score some runs. Let's see what happens. And he goes out 3 1/3, I think, and throws up 3 zeros, gets us out of an inning. So they're in the first. I was really pleased with that. It's something we've seen a lot from him, so I hope that continues.
And the next guy that came in after Batts, Mikel Belcher. And Belcher was a guy we saw in an exhibition game. So last night was his first official appearance of the summer. And Belcher, a big kid from Samford University and one who throws hard. What did he do last night that really made him so effective?
He was consistent. We're working with him just on being consistent and being able to repeat his delivery. He does throw the ball hard, and he knows he throws the ball hard. And sometimes he tries to overthrow just a little bit, and that just kind of messes up his mechanics, and he's not able to repeat the same action every time, and it happens. But last night he did a great job with that for, I guess, 3 innings, and his curveball worked well, and just being able to throw strikes. He's got the stuff that when he's in the zone, he's very hard to hit.
Yeah, a couple innings last night for Belcher. And now going to the offensive side, Taylor Nichols had his first start in the cleanup spot. He ended up launching a solo shot. Ben Schmucker continued his torrid pace. He had a solo shot. But a new guy on the squad who's only been here for a couple of days, Adam Pate, local kid, he's doing tremendous work, especially on the base pass. What is it that he does? Is it just speed and speed kills? He's just so effective out there.
He plays the game very hard. Everything he does is wide open, and I really like the way he plays the game. You know, last night he didn't get a hit, but he was on base, and that's the important thing, on base percentage and runs. And you know, we saw him throw 2 guys out at the plate because he really attacked the ball off the bat, came and got it, and made a good throw. But it just speaks for the type of baseball player that he is, and that's just who he is as a person. He's always dirty, as we've seen every game he's played. He's come back to the bus with a load of dirt. So it's because of the mentality he plays the game with that makes him so effective.
Yeah, in the infield, in the outfield, this kid is really doing it all. He threw out the same player, Dayton Nix, of the Steamers last night at home, 2 outfield assists from center field after starting the game in the infield. This Adam Pate kid can seriously play. Well, when we come back, we'll have some representatives from the Lee Motor Group. Justin, thank you as always for coming in here this morning. When we come back, representatives from the Lee Motor Group here on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly. Alongside me now is Matt Evans, representative for the Lee Motor Group. And now, the Lee Motor Group is sponsoring tonight's promotion, which is the Read Around the Bases. I know the Tobs are the ones that usually come up with these promotions, but what made you and the Lee Motor Group decide to jump on to this Read Around the Bases promotion?
Well, we thought it was a good cause, helping with the students get their reading scores up and get a chance to get some backing on that from the team and from local businesses.
And speaking of local businesses, you're not actually from around here. You're coming from pretty much my neck of the woods up north. What brought you down here to Wilson, North Carolina?
Well, I had left a position at a dealership up in New York and had an opportunity to go to work for Ford Motor Company as a consultant, working around the country. They needed somebody in the southeast, and the Raleigh area was one of the places on our wish list that we were looking to move to. So we moved to Cary, and I lived there for the first 6 years I was down here. Wound up, I had taken a job, or I had a position doing consulting work in Wilson at the old Lee Motor Company, and spent a week there. And a couple of years later, when I was getting sick of traveling, I found a job in the paper and didn't know who it was, applied for it, and wound up getting a call from Tim Varnell, recognized the name, and I've been working for Lee ever since.
Funny how things work out like that, huh? And you're not the only branch in the Lee Motor Group. You work for Ford Lincoln, but there are a couple other branches here in Wilson.
Yes, we have 10 stores altogether, but in Wilson we also have the Dodge store that was formerly Cox Dodge that Lee took over in July of last year. And then we have the Nissan store, which is right next to the Lee Ford Lincoln store. And that's been around for since 1983.
Yeah, so a very big presence here in Wilson, North Carolina. A presence last year out on the mound. You threw out the first pitch. I asked you right before we got on air, how's your arm? And you had a pretty nifty response to that one.
Well, I practiced before I went out there last year, and I had to throw the first pitch out with, I think it was one of the principals of the head of the school district. And I was very happy that I threw a strike, and I'm not going to chance it a second time, so I retired, and I'm having one of my general sales managers come down to do it this year.
Hey, 1,000% 1 for 1. Who
Right.
can blame you?
Exactly.
Smart man. And last thing I actually want to ask you, I know that you are the general manager of the Ford and Lincoln branch. I drive a Ford F-150. What is your favorite car?
Mustang.
Mustang?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Do you have a Mustang?
I don't have one now. I've had 6 during my life. I had several older 60s models when I was in high school and college.
So you lead a horrible, horrible life then with 6 Mustangs in your past.
Yeah, well, the good thing is we get to, I do have a company car, so I switch off from cars, and whenever a nice fast car comes on a lot, it at least spends a few days in my driveway.
Perks of having the job, isn't it?
Actually, I had one of Sandra's brands from the Dodge store in my driveway over the weekend. I had a nice SRT8 that we took in, Charger, that was there.
So Mustangs and Chargers, that's a pretty nifty job you got right there, Matt.
Anything with a big engine.
Anything with a big engine, wonderful. I'm sure there's a lot of fans that are tuning in right now who would agree with you on that one. Well, Matt, thank you for coming in here this morning. Lee Motor Group, a sponsor for tonight's promotion, Read Around the Bases. When we come back, we will have reliever for the Tobs, Mikel Belcher, all that and more on this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas & Ferris. And welcome back, everybody, to Tobs Talk presented by Thomas & Ferris. I'm Jake Donnelly. With me now, reliever for the Tobs, Mikel Belcher. Mikel, you're not exactly the smallest guy, and you have a tendency to bring some heat out there, some serious heat on the mound, and you did that last night in 2 innings of work against the Edenton Steamers. The prior appearance was an exhibition game where you didn't really have that much control, but last night, very good appearance. What did you do differently against the Steamers?
I just went out there and just kind of relaxed. It was a settled situation kind of, and just felt comfortable, and I just had to get that one outing in me to just kind of get it out of the way first and get comfortable back throwing. It's been about 2 weeks since I've thrown, so I felt pretty good about it last night.
And how good does that feel to get that good outing out of the way? Because I know you must have been thinking about the prior one.
Yeah, it was definitely a sigh of relief. I definitely felt relieved, and the fact that I could go out there and throw all my pitches I wanted to for strikes, and just compete. That was the main thing, was just go out there and being able to compete and just get back out there on the mound. So it was nice.
And you're a fastball, curveball, splitter pitcher, but the splitter is a work in progress, and there's another pitcher on the Tobs, or in the Tobs bullpen, Quinn Atwood, who throws a splitter, and I guess you've been talking to him a little bit?
I've talked to him before about it, yeah. We're just talking about different types of grips and, different, feel for the pitch and stuff. But yeah, he's definitely helped me a little bit about it, so it's been good.
And folks, if you didn't know it, Michael here is from Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is in the Panhandle. And if you've ever had to drive east to west across the Panhandle, you know that it just kind of keeps on going. But some nice tourist attractions there, and one of your favorite places is a local beach.
Yes, definitely. Destin beaches are by far the best. I don't think I've really been to any other ones that can compete, really. It's just nice. White, soft sand, can't beat it.
Now, is there any argument or battle between the Panhandle Floridians and the Southern Floridians, and which beaches are better?
Oh yeah, definitely the SoFlo guys, as we call them. They love their beaches down there, especially 2 teammates, Danny and Frankie from Miami. They always give me, a hard time about, being from North Florida. We're basically Alabama, They just give me stuff for it, but.
Now, have they ever made their way to the Panhandle? Do they not know what they're missing?
They don't. They really don't. They've never been. They're just SoFlo guys. They can't help it.
So don't knock it till you try it, is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Now, to the really, really hard part about this interview right now. What's the best game you've ever pitched out on the mound?
Best game, I'd say, my senior year of high school. I threw a one-hitter, but I had the most strikeouts I've ever had. I had 14 Ks, so it was definitely, I was on that night, and it was a great feeling. So,
like I mentioned earlier, you're not the smallest guy in the world. Do you think the fact that you are, 6'4", 6'5", and it's not one of those small 6'5" either. It's a healthy 6'5", folks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that you can intimidate batters when you go out onto the mound?
I think so, definitely. Coming from that angle of my height, I feel like it's a different look to say, because so tall, it's coming from a different angle. But I'd say it's pretty intimidating. I mean, that's what I want to get in them, that I'm intimidating. So.
And you also have a tendency to attack batters. You don't like to mess around in the strike zone. A fastball and that big curve. Which do you think is your best pitch?
Those are my breaking ball. Fastball. When I can locate it, it's really good. But I feel like my breaking pitch, it's got a lot of bite. And it's just a big, almost not even really a 12-6, but like 11 to 7. But it's I think it's a really good pitch, and I think that's probably my best one. Definitely my out pitch, for sure.
And the view that I had yesterday, right behind home plate at Edenton, in the 2 innings that Michael worked, he allowed 1 run. It was unearned, but that breaking ball has some serious snap to it. As you mentioned, about 11 to 7 break in. When it's coming off of a 6'5" body, that's some serious filth going on right there. But Michael, thank you for coming in this morning. I really do appreciate it, especially because I know the Tobs didn't get back at an early time last night, and yesterday was a fairly long day for a reason or two, which I'll get to during tonight's broadcast. But Michael, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When we come back, we'll close out this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas & Ferris. Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas & Ferris. I'm Jake Donnelly. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Well, tonight's game for the Tobs is against the Peninsula Pilots, a 7:05 start with gates opening at 6 o'clock. The promotion tonight is sponsored by the Lee Motor Group, a celebration for the kids who have successfully completed the Read Around the Bases program. So remember to come in at 6 o'clock. Game time is at 7:05. It is also bang for your buck night. Hot dogs, popcorn, snow cones, as well as select draft beers, all just $1. I'd like to extend a special thank you to head coach Justin Hay for coming in, Matt Evans from the Lead Motor Group, as well as Mikel Belcher, who all came in this morning for this taping of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris. Folks, also, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Wilson Tobs, like our Facebook page at Wilson Tobs. You can also follow us on our Instagram, which is Wilson Tobs. But if you want a behind-the-scenes look about how Tobs Talk is produced and shot, you can go to our Instagram, which is Tobs_talk. So that's TOBS_TATA, and you can also check out what exactly is going on with Coach Hay below the waistline in terms of what he likes to wear to Tobs Talk. A professional man through and through. We'll just leave it at that, folks. Well, thank you for sticking with me during this edition of Tobs Talk. Hopefully, we'll see you all tonight. Tobs take on the Pilots at 7:05. Gates open at 6 o'clock.